Well, hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to So What, the Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. I'm joined by Chris and John, and we are going to de-escalate from the pre-show, John. We are all calm now again.
After yet another fight in the green room, we are.
Not with each other, just about the world in general.
American healthcare system. How could anyone get angry about that?
How could anyone get angry?
Here we are.
Speaking of how could anyone get angry, let's talk today about how to build new Microsoft Copilot capabilities. So I don't remember the exact date, but we have done a live stream on Copilot in general, which you can catch at our YouTube channel, trustinsights.ai/YouTube. Go to the So What live stream playlist. Since we did that episode, Microsoft has made a lot of strides in terms of usability and features for companies using Microsoft Copilot. Just to backtrack a little bit, one of the reasons why a lot of companies are being asked to use and only use Microsoft Copilot and not being given the access to things like Claude and ChatGPT and so on and so forth is because they are locked in with a Microsoft 365 license. Chris covered this in 7 different newsletters about enterprise AI, and Microsoft, for the most part, fits the criteria for a company that is looking to secure things with enterprise AI, not meaning the size of the company, but the amount of regulations that they have to meet in terms of privacy, security, et cetera, et cetera. That's why a lot of companies are like, well, look at all these cool tools out there, but nope, you have to use Microsoft Copilot. Microsoft Copilot is like, hey, you have to use us. Here's some cool new stuff that you can use. So now, today, we're going to cover how to build new Microsoft Copilot capabilities. Chris, did I kind of cover the history of that?
Yeah. And the reason this episode came out is because we've been doing a ton of private workshops for different companies recently. And 95% of the people in the workshops are on Copilot. And so they're saying, hey, I can't use Claude, like you said, Katie. In fact, I did a survey of my own newsletter, and a couple of comments were, I love the stuff that you're sharing, but I can't use it because it's in Copilot. And as we talk through with folks the things that we're doing, like, you can port this to Copilot in some fashion. However, as with so many things that Microsoft does, the documentation is either poor or non-existent. And so as part of these workshops, I've been exploring what's under the hood inside Copilot, and what's in there is surprisingly robust, really capable, and not at all documented.
Well, and to be fair, not to pick on Microsoft solely, a lot of companies are not great about their technical documentation, or they're really good about their developer documentation, and no documentation exists for the everyday user.
Exactly. So we're going to cover today skills, which are all the rage in agentic AI, and where you can put them of sorts in Copilot. We're going to cover Copilot's coding environment and the 390 extensions that are in there that you can use for free that are built in, and do some demos of these things to show that it is in fact possible to make this tool actually somewhat useful. And as much as in the past I have mocked Copilot, if you use it properly, it is as capable as any other level 1 or level 2 AI system.
So this is the Chris Penn redemption tour. He is apologizing to Copilot for mocking them for so many years.
No apology. No apology.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I don't think Satya Nadella I don't think his feelings are hurt.
Probably not. John, you talk to a lot of people, our customers, audience, prospects all the time. How often is Copilot coming up? Like, it's something when you're screening, prospects and you ask them, like, what are you using? What's in your tech stack? Are you hearing more and more Copilot, or is it still a little bit of a mix of everything?
It's interesting. It's changed a little bit. I mean, definitely at the start, it was what Chris had mentioned was like, 70, 80, 90% of people are on Copilot. And so, and then they're always making excuses for it. They're kind of like, oh, and we know it doesn't work as well and blah, blah, blah. So it's really interesting for me to hear Chris say that you can make it as effective as these other models, because a lot of them have had an inferiority complex. They're just kind of like, well, we put up with Outlook and we put up with Teams, and now we're going to put up with Copilot, and we just figure that's the way the world's going to work. So to hear that you can actually, if you set it up the right way, you can do more stuff. I'm very interested in hearing how this goes, and I know we will have a lot of prospects that will be excited to hear this and know that they have the same level of opportunity. And then also, if it is, then at that point, you do have what Microsoft is there for, is the fact that it's enterprise secure. It has all of the, everything that the board and your compliance people want to see, and which is a big deal, because that's what's, keeping some of these companies from trying crazy stuff out. But then we've also seen an upswing in just the crazy pirates. There are people that they have Copilot in the office, and they're like running everything they can run at their house at home, and probably getting themselves in trouble. So this is great for them too. Maybe they can stop playing with matches and get back on the where they need to be.
I believe that's what is called shadow AI, and that's what a lot of leadership teams are struggling with. And so one of the things they're trying to understand is, how can we make the tools that we have to use more attractive, more enticing, so that we can cut down on the amount of shadow AI, and not just that, but the risk to the company, because the way in which people are using these tools might include sharing sensitive information, identifiable data, IP, those kinds of things. But if you can contain it within your ecosystem in enterprise AI, you have less of that risk. And so understanding what you can do with Microsoft Copilot is going to be incredibly useful. And to your point, John, a lot of our prospects might find this really helpful and want to learn more. So Chris, I am really interested to see how you can cover 390 extensions in, what do we have? 40-ish minutes? You're going to turn into the
Yes.
Micro Machine Man?
Exactly. So let's not do that. First and foremost, the obvious things in Copilot itself, and this is we're talking basic Copilot, not Copilot Premium, not Copilot Cowork, not Copilot Studio, not the 82 versions of Copilot that Microsoft markets because they have no product name capabilities whatsoever. We're talking basic, plain vanilla, out of the box. This is what you get with Microsoft 365. The most important menu is depending on which version you have, either the top left or top right, is the model chooser. You will note that there are 4 models that you can choose. There's quick response, which is great if you're providing all the data. There's think deeper, which it basically uses a reasoning version of Microsoft's fee model. Microsoft very strongly is encouraging people to use these 2 models because it costs them less money. There is also a connector to OpenAI's models, and you see the brand new GPT 5.6. I'm pretty sure that's GPT 5.6 Terra, which is the mid-level model. And then GPT 5.5 quick response. In general, unless you have a good reason to use something else, you should opt to use the latest model from OpenAI. That is the general best model to use the Copilot. So that's immediate upgrade number 1. Immediate upgrade number 2 is, remember that Copilot has what are called agents, which are not agents, they're GPTs. If you've ever worked with ChatGPT and seen GPTs or Gemini gems, agents are effectively that. And this is really important because, as sometimes works in ChatGPT, if you use the @ sign, you can call an agent inside a Copilot chat and references. You can say, let's write a blog post, and then call your agent if you have a blog writing agent there. Here's why this matters. There are, in the world of Claude and ChatGPT and stuff like that, and agentic AI, there are so many people creating so many really cool skills and agents and plugins. I'm going to pull up one of my personal favorites, the Jesse Vincent's Superpowers plugin. This is for coding environments. Phenomenal plugin, so intelligent, it has so many cool capabilities. In particular, within this plugin, there is a skill called brainstorming, right? The brainstorming skill that you can invoke inside your agentic coding environment. All this is, if I tap on the raw button here, it's just a prompt. At the end of the day, it's just a prompt. So if I copy and paste this is free, and he has licensed it for for commercial use. So very important. Please obey people's intellectual property licenses. But if I copy this prompt, I go to Copilot, tap new agent, and I say, I skip their stupid builder and call this brainstorming Jesse Vincent's brainstorming skill. Paste. Oh, you've exceeded the word limit by 10,000 characters. That's fine. Paste it in a text document. Brainstorming. Now you drag that file, which is just a plain text file. Execute the brainstorming skill specified in brainstorming.txt, which we can see is attached here. Let's make sure we got all. Hit create.
And to be clear, you skipped the agent builder because you already had the instructions, the prompt for what you were building. But for someone who doesn't, they could go through the agent builder step by step and say, here's what I'm trying to do. Can you help me build it?
You could, exactly. But the nice thing about all of these skills that people are publishing, some of which you can buy from Trust Insights, for example, is I can say, let's do some brainstorming at brainstorming. And now, because I've taken that skill, I've basically pasted it into a Copilot agent. I have ported this thing from Jesse's Claude version right into Copilot. And this is exactly the workflow that happens. So if you see or hear someone on LinkedIn or whatever saying, oh, I've got the ultimate skill package, I've had the ultimate Claude code thing, grab it, open up the hood, find the skill.md file inside it, and go copy paste. And now you have it in Copilot, just like that. It is so straightforward. You can add in any number of these things, and until you at them in a conversation, they don't take up space, they don't take up memory, and things like that. So this is one of the easiest things that you can do, is take all the stuff that people are talking about that has been pre-built in other systems and bring it into Copilot as little agents.
And that's, it's one of the things we talk about a lot when we talk about generative AI is the better your documentation, the easier it's going to be to migrate from system to system. And skills are one of those things that should work on any given large language model, provided they are well and thoroughly documented.
Exactly right. So that is, I guess, if you want to use oligarchy vocabulary, that's unlock number 2. Choose the right model. Huh?
Let's not use oligarchy terminology. I don't have my red flag handy. I only have one hand today.
Oh.
Sorry, hold on. I'll see if I can get it. Oh, okay.
There you go.
It's a red flag for Chris for saying oligarchy.
So number 1, use smart models unless you have a reason not to. Number 2, any skill or plugin that you see floating around that is appropriately licensed, you can copy and paste it into an agent in Copilot and then have it available. And you can, depending on how you have your administrator has to set things up, you could share it with your team, right? You can share Copilot agents right inside Copilot with the rest of your team. So if you see some cool stuff, share it around. You can also, I believe, and I don't know because we don't have a SharePoint, but I believe that you can put links to your shared agents in SharePoint, so that if you find something cool, you can circulate with others. So that's number 2. Number 3, and the big one, is Copilot can natively run the Python programming language. So right within a chat, it can run Python code. It fires up a little Python interpreter. That alone is pretty cool because that gives you deterministic capabilities, things where there's a clear right and wrong answer, inside of a language model, which otherwise struggles with things like math and counting that they're really bad at. Example, write a 300-word blog post, plus or minus 10 words, about the importance of email marketing for B2B marketers. No, that's lost the word right. All right. Plus or minus 10 words about the importance for B2B marketers. Let's see what comes out. And here we have a lovely post. How many words is that? And so it actually is writing its own little bit. It contains 323 words. Yeah, good job. Thanks. So it came up with, and I'm curious to see if it actually is 323 words. But it's actually minus the title, it's 318. So I guess we'll give it that. But you can see it fired up a little Python script to do exactly that. Just do that count. Yes.
So it counted 323, probably including the title. You said minus the title, it's 318. So that's 5. If you can scroll back up for a second to the title is more than 5 words. And so I just want to call that out to say that I would not be like, okay, I'll give it to you. It's already showing inaccuracy. So I just want to make sure we're clear that don't accept things from AI that look off, especially when you can prove that they are wrong. So I just, just my little disclaimer. So no, we're not just going to say it's fine, because that could have like further down the road ripple effects. So I'm just, just a little bit of a call out.
Exactly. So we're going to actually prevent that. And here's how we're going to prevent that. First thing we need to know is, what can we do in this environment? So we're going to say, make a list of all the Python libraries and packages in this environment using your built-in Python interpreter. Return your list with the package name and version number organized by topic or area, such as statistics, natural language, file copying, etc., as a markdown file for download. So what we're doing here is we're saying to Copilot, hey, you have the ability to export all of the Python libraries that are installed for every user of Copilot in the background. And what will come out is, depending on the version of Copilot you have and stuff, 300-ish some odd different libraries, Python libraries and packages across, I want to say, like 10 or 15 different areas. Let's see what it comes up with. So appropriately, it's calling its own function for this particular task. And let's see what its answer is. And if it blows up, which it very well could, I have a pre-baked version.
I was going to say, John, we haven't practiced our banter for this week.
I know. How about that World Cup?
In the Copilot environment, because it's taking its sweet time writing that code, there are 390 packages. Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see what we're doing here. So there's AI and machine learning libraries like GenSim and the Hugging Face Hub to import models, scikit-learn, SHAP, TickToken for tokenization, XGBoost for there's audio and speech for its ability to listen to files that you upload, like MP3s, or read or view videos, or do speech recognition. There's cloud stuff, of course, for Azure. There's computer vision, image recognition. There's data science and statistics, a ton of this. SciPy, scikit-learn, etc. Database access, developer tools, Office document handlers for pretty much every kind of document you can imagine. Geospatial stuff. You can make games with some of these packages, a list of general utilities, and so on and so forth. So this is a huge amount of stuff that is in Copilot right now. It's there. It's waiting to be used if we tell Microsoft that we want to use it. And that is the hard part. And here's how we would do it. Let's start a new chat. And we'll have it use the smartest model available, which is the GPT 5.6. And we're going to say, I'm going to drop in my list of the packages, you're a Python coding expert. Using the included Python environmental packages as appropriate, construct a single monolithic Python script that, when given a standard input, will perform an accurate word count and return the word count to the console or standard output as plain text. The goal is to have a quick, easy, fast, and accurate utility for Copilot to use to accurately count words. What we're asking Copilot to do is write its own code. We don't have to code anything at all. We're, hands are off the keyboard, no coding involved, but it is writing a Python script to do word counts. And when it's done, it should provide a nice little download, which will be, and in case it decides to take a vacation here, up here comes download word count.py. Let's see. You can also redirect the file. Here it is. Very nice. I like it. Thank you. Now, what do we do with this sucker? In a new chat, I can include the word count file and say, write a 300-word blog post about the importance of email marketing in B2B marketing. Use the included Python script to ensure a correct word count plus or minus 10 words. After you've written the post, count the number of words. And so what we've done is we've essentially built a utility that uses Copilot's native Python environment to do a deterministic task that language models, frankly, are not up to scratch for doing. Now, by the way, this does not solve the fact that this is the most AI slop post you can possibly imagine. But let's verify, did it actually do the job? And the answer is, and this time, Katie, without the title, it is exactly 300 words. I checked in my text editor here. So without the title, it is exactly 300 words. So using the utility got us the correct answer. So we've worked around AI's issue of, hey, this thing is as dumb as a bag of hammers and it can't count, by forcing it instead to use its programming language, the programming languages available to it.
I guess a side note, I think one thing that's interesting is you didn't specify that the word count should or should not include the title. Does that, when I'm just sort of thinking through, like, as people are learning how to use these things, like, does that kind of specificity matter? Or do you think it made that assumption of like, well, they said the post, so only the content, not the title, but it needs it, like, how does, like, I just walk me through a little bit of how that works.
That's depending on the model, it may wing it. So it will be probabilistic unless you specifically say the post minus the title or the post without the title must be 300 words plus or minus 10 words.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yes, you want to be very clear about that. Now, what I think is useful and interesting in this particular case is if you look at this catalog of all of these different things, the 390 libraries that are available in here, this should tell us, here's what we can do inside Copilot. So at the top there, XGBoost 312. XGBoost stands for Extreme Gradient Boosting. This is an old school machine learning algorithm that is commonly used for regression analysis. When you see that in the list, you go, oh, Copilot can do regression analysis if I tell it to use this. So I might export a file out of my Google Analytics and say, I want to know what really drives leads. And I'm going to provide you with these data files, these CSVs, using your built-in Python interpreter and the XGBoost library, construct a piece of code that will perform this assessment, return your XGBoost uses R-squared, return your R-squared error rate and stuff. And if the R-squared error rate is below 0.05%, then we know the result will work, and then go and do the thing. And it will go and do the thing. And suddenly a tool that can't even count the number of words can do regression analysis.
So what's interesting, so I recognized XGBoost because again, you've been talking about XGBoost for basically for as long as I've known you. But a lot of these things I don't recognize. So could it be as simple as like taking them section by section, being like, it looks like you have the following, 7 audio and speech libraries. Can you tell me what each one of them does? And getting
Yep,
like building your own kind of glossary that way. So that way
you
you can
sure
say,
can.
today I need to do a regression analysis. Which one of your things that you have can I use?
Exactly. Yes, you can do that. You should do that, and you should do that anyway, just to know what's out there. So, for
Mhm.
example, in audio and speech, Librosa is a music library, right? It can read and write music. So, if you were doing things like, I don't know, trying to compose melodies and stuff like that, for some reason, an AI tool maybe can and can't do that, but you could say, validate it, fact check me on this using Librosa in your built-in Python interpreter. If we scroll down here a bit further, computer vision, you upload an image and it hallucinates. You say, no, 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 no. Use your OpenCV Python headless Python library to look at the image instead of you just winging it there, buddy, and then tell me what you see in this image.
Makes sense. And I
Um,
think in general, you just don't want AI to wing it. So the more information like this that you have, the more specific you can get, not just with your prompt, but with like these Python, what do you call them? Like Python packages?
Packages, yeah. Packages
Packages.
or libraries, either one.
Okay. With these libraries, you can get down to the more specific because like so XGBoost, great example. A lot of people want to understand attribution analysis. That's not a new topic. We just have new tools to play with. I'm assuming unless you say something like and use the XGBoost Python package, it may or may not decide to use that. And so you are just kind of winging it of, hey, do a regression analysis on my Google Analytics data. And it's going to confidently give you the answer, whether or not it's correct.
That's right. That's right. Let's look at another example, and we'll use another writing example for this. Suppose we wanted to not write in passive voice. Passive voice is kind of the enemy of clarity. So I will take my Python environmental packages list here, which is that markdown list we made at the beginning of the episode, and I will say, you're an NLP expert. Using the included Python environmental packages as appropriate, construct a single monolithic Python script that, when given a standard input, will perform a statistical assessment of passive voice in text provided in standard input. Choose the appropriate natural language processing packages that best fit this task, and the script should provide a report to the console or standard output in markdown format of the number of occurrences of passive voice and a bullet list of the specific passages listed. Make the Python script available as a download. So now, instead of just saying, hey, count some words, we're now kicking this up to the level of, you're going to use the natural language processing tools. Probably, if I had to guess, it's probably going to choose Spacey. It's probably going to choose NLTK, and it may it chose Spacey. And it says, here's what we've got. So here's an example, and they can count the number of passive voice occurrences. This script then is something that I can go take, download, and run somewhere else. And the fact that it uses Spacey inside its system means that I don't have to worry about it about trying to install anything, because it's already there. Microsoft has provided it right inside the environment. So I'm in good conditions here. If I call this passive .py, now let's go start a new blog post and drop this in. You'll say, write a 300-word blog post about the importance of email marketing to B2B marketers, and ensure that you write in active voice only using the included passive voice Python script. Revise and rewrite until you have 0 occurrences of passive voice. Now, For this one, because this is something that requires multiple turns, probably I'm going to use the GPT 5.6 model because it needs a model that has agentic capabilities to say, okay, this is going to be multiple steps. I'm going to have to take a few tries at this, and we can even see here as it's doing its thinking. There you go. So it's coding, it's executing, it's coding, it's running the script.
And I think as a user, that's something I would be interested in understanding is, how many versions did it go through? I want to see the first version with the passive voice to see how it made, like, just out of my own curiosity. How many times, or did it take the instruction and write without passive voice the first time?
Yeah. So let's see. It reviewed the data. It did some coding and execution. It says B2B marketers need channels that build trust, reach clear audiences, and support long sales cycles. It did an adjustment on the word count. And it did it did some replacements there on the word count. It actually, so this is interesting. It started out in active voice. So it didn't find any. The script didn't find any, which again for GPT 5.6 as a model makes sense because that is literally the smartest model, one of the smartest models on the planet right now. And so it probably should be able to do it right the first time.
Right.
And then the code is there as a backstop.
Question. One of the things that you can do in Claude that we talked about with a client last week is set global settings. Is that something that you can do in Microsoft Copilot? So, for example, could you give it the prompt or the rule to say, anytime you draft content, never use passive voice or always use active voice or something along those lines? Because that's one of the nice features in other systems is you can set those global settings so you don't if you forget to mention it in the context of the prompt, it's already set.
Yes, that's under the personalization. There's custom instructions, there's a work profile, and you can also save memories. So for example, in this system, in my custom instructions, I have it set to it's required to use ASD Simplified Technical English as its chat language, because Simplified Technical English was created by the European airline industry to standardize how pilots speak on the radio. And it requires very, very specific formats of the English language. You're not allowed to have run-on sentences. One instruction per sentence, one topic per paragraph, etc. So you, instead of a pilot just rambling on the radio, like AI, it says you have to say, Delta 2604, runway 22. And it's just very clear. And so I have this set as the custom instructions in this environment because I don't want it foaming at the mouth and waxing rhapsodic about this. Like, just give me answers. And so yes, to your point about custom instructions, that's what's in here.
Okay. I find it ironic since it is very opposite of how you write. And we all have our own styles of writing, like that's a whole thing, but like it is, I find it interesting that you don't want to read instructions the same way that you personally as the human would write them. But to get back to the point, it is nice to know that you can set those global instructions, both at the personal level. And I assume if you had like a team enterprise, subscription, you could sort of do it at the enterprise level, like the team, like overarching global instructions, whatever those may be. Always use this skill, fact check, always do this, never use, this terminology. These words are banned from our brand, like whatever those things are.
Yes, you can.
It's a nice feature.
Yeah, it's a nice feature. So the last thing you could do is if you really liked a script that worked really well, you cannot upload code to these agents. Like if I try and drop in that Python script, you can see the screen turns red. It will not allow you to do that. However, What you can do is change the file extension on the Python script from .py for Python to .txt, and then drop it in anyway. And you could say, we are intending to reduce the use of passive voice. Use passive.py and execute it in your built-in Python interpreter to help the user eliminate passive voice. This active voice. Paste that in there. So now it's got the Python script as a plain text file because it's going to have to read it anyway. And if I create this now, create my agent, and I start a chat, and I could say, take the following blog post and make sure it's an active voice. And call the act. Oh, I'm already in the active voice assistant, so that's silly. Let's start a new chat there. And I could call active voice the agent, and it would allow me to, instead of having to drag and drop the Python file every time, now I just call it like a skill.
I like it. And I think the more, and this is sort of where you're getting into sort of the Microsoft ecosystem of, could these things be saved in a SharePoint page? How do you, get people the latest and greatest? That all comes down to governance. And it's something that's going to be unique to every organization. We make recommendations, but you really have to make sure that it works well for, how your team works. So if they go to SharePoint, or if you want something just like that's already in the libraries of your Copilot instance.
Exactly. So those are the things that I would recommend that folks do. Is number one, use the smartest model that you can, whatever's in your subscription. Number two, take any skill that you like from outside the Copilot ecosystem, because they're all just prompts, turn them into agents within Copilot. Now you have access to the skills. Yes, there's some copy paste, but that's fine. Number three, use the built-in Python interpreter with the 390 packages. By the way, is more than you get in other places. I did the same exact thing in Gemini. Gemini only gives you 200 some odd ones. So there's, granted, there's a lot that are like Azure specific for Microsoft, but there's still more in the Copilot ecosystem than you get in stock Gemini, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then number four, if you build useful code-based extensions, new capabilities with your Copilot, turn those into agents as well by renaming the Python script as a text file, and then it can execute them. And you now have the ability to do a lot more with Python built into Copilot than you could just staring at a blank Copilot window going, why can't this thing count words?
Is there any limit to that then, really? I mean, can you just put all kinds of Python in there and have it completely running wild, or is there some security around it?
There is. It runs in a virtual sandbox, and you can't install extra stuff, and you can only connect to things that your Copilot administrator allows you to connect to. So if there's no, say SQL Server in your environment, you can't connect to one.
Got it. I mean, that makes sense. Because one of the things we know about like Claude, for example, is that it has a lot of connectors to third-party tools. I would imagine that Microsoft Copilot, again, one of the reasons why it's very attractive to an enterprise AI organization is that it restricts what it can connect to. And it's likely out of the box, the stuff that's just in its own ecosystem, not third-party tools.
Yes. Out of the box, it will connect to SharePoint. It'll connect to Microsoft Office. So any Office documents that are in OneDrive, SharePoint, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, I believe. And then if you upgrade to Premium, you can then attach to more connectors. And then if you upgrade from Premium to Copilot Studio with Premium, you can access their entire N8N style workflow builder that has like 500 connectors.
Yeah, Microsoft has always been pretty bad about their product naming, but that's neither here nor there. Let me ask you this question, Chris, and this might be kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but is there anything that Copilot can do that the other more commercial large language models can't do? Like, is there if someone had to say, at least I have this one thing that Copilot can do that the others can't, like, does that thing exist?
In the stock Copilot, no. Stock Copilot is basically ChatGPT just slimmed down and sandboxed in the Microsoft ecosystem. Where you do get some interesting stuff, when you have Copilot Studio as part of Premium, that does have a lot of interesting connectors, many of which you don't see in like N8N. Now, granted, a lot of them are enterprise connectors. And that is kind of interesting. And then Copilot Cowork, which is a licensed version of Claude Cowork, obviously has all the connectors for Copilot Studio within it as well. So you can, if you pay for all the upgrades and you're on like Copilot Platinum, Ultra, whatever, then you do have a lot of capabilities, but also it costs you like $5,000 just to open a Word doc.
I mean, I feel like that's true of any software system.
Yeah, but Copilot's prices are really high. In fact, if you go on the Trust Insights website under our Instant Insights, there is a Copilot Cowork calculator that we put up for free that you can check out just to estimate your costs. And boy, are they high.
Well, I got nothing on that. We have zero control over that.
That home office is not going to pay for itself in Seattle.
Exactly. But so I hope that what we did today shows you that you can extend the capabilities of Copilot beyond what's in the box, that you can take existing skills, port them to agents, and that you can write your own with the coding environment to do anything that Python plus those 390 libraries support. There's a lot in there. As Katie said, it's a good idea to Google them to learn what they do or have Copilot explain them to you. And if you have that list, perhaps even start some of your prompts to say like, hey, I'm doing this task. As a reminder, you have access to these 390 things you drop in the file. Which of these things would be an appropriate addition to this task? And then, of course, use all the rest of your prompting basics that we teach in our generative AI for marketers course, like ask me questions. Do you have enough information to successfully complete the task? And Copilot will do a capable job, and you will get things done with Copilot and sometimes get reusable code that you can use for other projects.
And you can learn about those courses at academy.trustinsights.ai. And Chris, is it safe to assume that you will drop the link to that Instant Insights Copilot calculator that you mentioned in our free Slack community, Analytics for Marketers?
Yes, that's right.
Amazing. All right, John, any more questions about Microsoft Copilot?
No, but I think, I'm ready to start throwing Python files in there just by changing the extension. That sounds like the kind of exploit that I'm looking for. So,
oh my goodness. Carry on.
Nope, that's it. That's going to do it for this week, folks. So thanks for tuning in, and talk to you on the next one. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.